Hello and welcome. I'm Kat Hankinson of Stony Brook University. My guest today is William Freedman, whose debut novel, Land That I Love, has just been released from Rebel E-Publishers. Thanks for joining us today, William.
My pleasure, Kat.
First of all, I want to say congratulations on the release of your first novel. I know how hard you must have worked for this day. How does it feel to finally be a published author?
It feels great. I really love the recognition and the expressions of support from my fan base, but I also got to tell you, I'm waiting for the day when the cash starts rolling in, because I'm pretty far out of pocket. Now listen, Rebel is not by any means a vanity press, but neither were they in a position to give an advance to a first-time author, so I figured out pretty early on in promoting Land That I Love that I needed sponsorship. So I went out and
Sponsorship?
Yeah, well, I don't know if this occurred to anyone else before, but I figured that I'd be speaking to thousands of people before this is all over, even if it's just a dozen or two at a time. Some corporate sponsor, at least one, would be willing to help underwrite a portion of my book tour expenses in return for mentioning their products in my public appearances.
Really? So, that's very interesting. So, did it work out?
In fact, yes, I just got confirmation today. The Land That I Love book tour will be brought to you in part by S.C. Johnson, a family company, makers of Off insect repellent, which is a great product which I really do use. And I just got this packet today from S.C. Johnson, and folks there gave me something to read here. I haven't looked over this copy yet, but if it's okay with you, Kat, just at natural breaks during our conversation, I'll read these brief spots.
Well, William, this is rather unprecedented, but I suppose it will be fine.
Okay, well, I'll get started then. Since 1957, Off has been bringing trusted products and proven protection to families and individuals. The DEET formula in Off is among the safest, most effective insect repellents you can find. Remember, indoors or outdoors, you can't beat Off.
Oh, okay, William. Let's talk genre, shall we?
Yes.
Your genre is sci-fi, specifically the space opera.
Yes.
Now, when I read the masters of your genre, people like Isaac Asimov or Ian M. Banks, I often wonder, how do they do it? How do you work within the genre as a craftsperson? Do you start with your world building? Do you start with theme, plot, characters? Tell us about your approach.
Well, I can't speak for anyone else, certainly not those masters that you just mentioned, but I start with theme. There were things I wanted to say clearly in Land That I Love about the limits of military and political power and the limitlessness of the arrogance they engender. After theme, I focused on characters. And my philosophy is this with characters. If you get the characterization right, that is to say, you've created some people who are flawed yet sympathetic, they'll find their own way into trouble. Then all you as the author have to do is find a way for them to get out of trouble at some cost to themselves, and you can call that exercise plot. When you're getting back to nature, whether for a 1-hour hike or a week on the trail, you'll be glad you brought along Deep Woods Off to keep you and your provisions safe from unwanted pests. You can't beat Off deep in the woods.
William, is there anything else you would like to share about your writing process with our audience?
I found a way around the wall, and anyone who writes novel-length fiction, or has tried to, knows what I'm talking about. You wake up in the middle of the night, and you've got this great idea for a story, and chapter 1 practically falls onto the page. and chapters 2 and 3 come easy, and chapter 4 you struggle with a little, but you fight through it. And then chapter 5 is just you just lose track, and you forget where the story is supposed to be going. So anyway,
how do you manage?
Well, when that happens to me, and this happened in Land That I Love, when that happened to me, I just flipped all the way to the end and wrote chapter last, because even if I got lost in the corn maze of the middle chapters, I knew where it was I wanted to go with it, and so I write that last chapter, and then just kept writing from right to left until I felt I could once again make more progress going from left to right. Then I meet myself in the middle, and it only remains to take all those elements that I introduced in the later chapters and make sure they're set up or foreshadowed in the earlier chapters. You can use with confidence the specially formulated home and garden off towelettes in your house or in your yard, on your deck, in your barbecue pit, or around your children's swing set. That's because off is family safe. You can't beat off around your children or pets.
Gosh, I don't know where the time went, Bill. We do have time for one last question. Any last words of advice for our audience, members who might be writers working on novels?
Balance. Balance is the key. You can't expect to be successful if you're awful at plot, but really good at dialogue. So you got to celebrate your strengths, but work on your weaknesses until you have this intuitive feel for when you need to be writing about action and when you need to be focused on exposition and on character development. You can't beat off It's So Small.
That's all we really have time for today, William. I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
You might want to reword that.
You can't beat off if it's a clip-on.